Coming up on the dirty side of the track this week, Rob fell asleep and dreamt part of the race.
Like, this is like Harry Potter's platform 9 3/4. Like, Bortoletto just disappeared through some, like, magic pit exit door.
Brian made a shocking revelation.
I'm wondering if tires matter as much as we thought in years past. Hey now, welcome to the dirty side of the track, America's leading Formula One podcast. I'm Brian, that's Rob. The first race of the 26th season happened, and we want to talk about it because it was a little different than usual. Question?
Yeah, you could tell you're excited. You came in quick on the hey now. The music hadn't even finished. I mean, you were just all ready to jump in and just get talking about racing. Yeah, I'm gonna keep my powder dry. I think we should review the race and then decide. We'll, in our dirty side thoughts, we'll decide what we think about the new regs so far.
And I'm also, just to be very honest, I still haven't figured out where I stand. So it's a journey for me. Like, okay, I look forward to the discussion because I don't know what to think.
Imagine I have a pin in my hand.
Yeah.
Just put a pin in that. We'll come back to it later.
All right, we shall.
Talking later, for any new listeners, structure of the episode as usual. Quick tour around the news and social that we saw this week. Brian opens up his video vault and we see what he's stashed in there. Then, a little change in the sequencing. We've been running Cadillac Corner then before we go into our main body, but Cadillac Corner is going to slot its way into the regular race review. So we'll do our race review where we pull apart what we thought of practice, quali, the race itself, finish on sort of thoughts of the race, listen from pit lane Paul, take a look at our casino game updates, and then preview China, because we go back to back.
First of all, I'm super excited to preview China. Second of all, for anyone who doesn't know, pit lane Paul is on the ground at the race, and you'll learn more about him as you go if you're new. But we are really lucky to have someone who's been in F1 their whole life and is at the race telling us what he saw. So I can't wait for a pit lane Paul review as well. So I'm super excited. I've missed those since the end of last season.
Yeah, so let's dive in so we can get through to the spicy stuff, talking about the race. News was a little dry this week. I guess all the teams were just heads down getting ready for Australia. So not a lot happened. So really, my first bit of news actually came from Australia. I think it was Media Day on the Thursday.
Yep.
They wheeled out Nui and a guy from Honda who I didn't write down his name. Sorry, Mr. Honda. And they came into a media session and they just basically announced that, yeah, we got really bad vibrations in the car. The engine is doing something really weird. Those vibrations go through the whole chassis right to the driver. And yeah, drive too long, you're probably going to get permanent nerve damage in your fingers. I mean, that's
intense. That's why the battery, remember at the end of testing, the battery wasn't working right. It wasn't charging, and they cited vibrations. And we're like, what? Yeah, very serious vibrations. And, you know, like you say, it was a joint discussion. But Nui also highlighted that when Honda left Red Bull and then came back, they had about 30% of their original team remained because everyone else bailed when they thought the Honda was leaving Formula One. So you have a lot of fresh folks in Formula One, and Aston Martin really apparently only became aware of the magnitude of the newness of the teams last November, which is curious because I'm fairly confident we talked about this on this pod about everyone leaving the Honda team. And so it wasn't that big of a surprise to me that they lost so many folks, but why was Nui so surprised by it?
I don't know. You imagine there's those new people in the factory kind of put the engine together and somebody goes, do you reckon this bit, if I stick it like this, will cause any bad vibrations? Nah, just weld it on, it's fine.
I wanted to play the Marky Mark good vibrations so much, but we'll get copyrighted, so can't do that.
Now, a news article that I found, which, again, doing a really poor job of creating citations this week. I don't know who the guy from Honda was. I don't know where I found this article, but they said that Nui kind of coming out and really linking all this to driver safety, the permanent nerve damage, that maybe they're trying to make a play for a duo. Do you know what a duo is, Brian?
I do because it's in the notes, but I also saw people talking about it after the race. It's the additional development and upgrade opportunities, which allows engine manufacturers who are having difficulty to make changes to their design. Because in years past, they locked the engine, and like Alpine the Renault engine was a dog, and it was low on power. They couldn't do anything about it because it was locked. There was a story that I saw, and again, Rob, this is us being excellent journalists, that Mercedes may still not have put their engine to 100% because they didn't want to have such a gap to some of the rear teams, causing the rear teams to be allowed to do a duo. So by kind of holding them in their DRS, if you will, and not lapping the field as bad, they're like, well, maybe they won't be able to fix their terrible dog engines and we can keep using ours.
Yeah, maybe. That one I'm leaning towards needing to reach for my tinfoil hat.
Yeah,
but it's
I
fine.
agree.
We'll leave it over there.
That's the
I'm not
point of it
reaching
being
just-
used, to be a duo.
Yes, and the other thing about it, I think it either doesn't fall under cost cap, or if it does, there's some allowances
Relief.
for it. You're basically, and I think they're saying that especially if it was safety related, they're more likely to be lenient and let them do this. So who knows? Who knows? I mean, it did seem a bit of a weird thing to just come out and have a big sort of powwow about it. Oh yeah, car sucks. Honda are awful. Got rid of all their people. Vibrations are going to destroy all our drivers' hands. A duo?
We're going to run 12 laps at a time and then give the drivers a break and then send them back out in intermittent fashion. All right, this is one I really didn't want to talk about, but it's becoming its own story. So obviously with a war going on in the Middle East, there are 2 races coming up not far from Iran. The round 4, April 12th, is in Bahrain, which is just across the Persian Gulf. Round 5, April 19th in Jeddah, while it's on the western part of the Arabian Peninsula, it's still not all that far away, and Iranian missiles could hypothetically reach that area. So FIA is looking at this, but I mean, it is currently an active, as of this morning, still an active war zone, and these races are a month away. And so I think F1 will watch, but I'd be shocked if somehow we end up having racing in Bahrain and Jeddah, because they're going to have to make a call on that in the next couple of weeks.
They are, and I think it was Terry at Coffee Corner, so he published that FIA's already said they won't replace them.
That's what I heard too.
So if they're called off, it'll be a 22 race season. Now the impact that has, a total number of points available for the season, etc., etc. But I think linking back to the previous story, I think I read somewhere that the duo rules kick in after race 6. So what would have been or for race 6. So what would have been maybe, I think it's Miami in race 6. Aston Martin could have been doing some stuff and doing it from then. They're going to have to wait even longer before they can get going on any changes if these 2 are cancelled. So I might have read that wrong, but who knows? Because I'm not tracking any of my sources.
What is with you this week? I don't understand. Andy from the Discord and other places, of course, sent this one in. Fun fact: 8 drivers on the current grid weren't even born to see Fernando Alonso's debut. I just thought that was great. And it was Fernando's first race, Australia 2001, 25 years ago. 8 of the current drivers weren't even born yet for Fernando's debut. And speaking of loosely unrelated news, I think Charles Leclerc got married. We saw Charles and his wife, now Mrs. Leclerc and Mr. Leclerc, posting a video of them in a Ferrari driving around Monaco. And everyone's like, wait, did they get married? And then someone took a blue HP logo and put it on that Ferrari, and it was hilarious. And then about 2 hours later, the Leclercs released photos of them actually getting married in a civil ceremony. So they removed any doubt, and we knew for a fact.
I was going to say, I didn't understand this that you'd put in the notes at all, because I'm not sure how much truth there is to Charles Leclerc getting married. I was like, well, loads of truth. I saw the pictures.
Not at first, though, was it? Yeah, at first it was a big,
okay.
It was like a day and a half of everyone. Did they get married?
Because I pay zero attention to that and don't actually care. Then
well, you will now.
I didn't notice.
You will now, because it's interesting that every Ferrari driver to win a championship in the last 50 years was married when they did it. Niki Lauda, Jody Scheckter, Michael Schumacher, and Kimi Räikkönen. So
I think the word interesting is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence.
I'm just telling you, I'm putting all my money on Mrs. Leclerc's husband to win it all this year.
Okay.
One last one from me. This one was a real downer. And my friend Mark purchased some Red Bull merch when he was at the release of the livery in Detroit. And I'm a big Isaac fan, as is Rob, as are a lot of our listeners. And I'm like, I'd love to support Isaac. And I saw this note while I was traveling this week that Red Bull was having a big sale on Verstappen.com. I guess Verstappen.com was having the sale on 2025 Red Bull merch. And I'm like, oh. And they had the polo with like the Red Bull across the chest and the block. And I really liked that shirt. And it was $109, marked down to $33. And I said, oh, that sounds about right. There's something Sap Stats can get into. So I'm like, all right, $33. And I go put the whole thing in, and I put my PayPal in, and I'm about to hit submit. And then I realized there's shipping. there's fees and a duty, and there's a different tax. $65. I'm like, well, hold on. I was in at 33. We've doubled the price now. So I did not get the merch. And what I was going to do was walk around and say it's my Isaac shirt, even though he wasn't on the team in the 25 version of the merch. No one would put that together, right? Well, it doesn't matter now.
No one would need you to have over-explained that and said, this is my Isaac.
Have you met me?
Wear it. Yeah, I have. And I would have, literally everyone we would have met, you would have to have told the whole backstory of, hey, this is my Isaac shirt. Now, technically, you're going to do the math and say he wasn't part of it.
I would have, too. That's the best part.
Oh, you totally would have. Absolutely.
But now I don't have the chance, so that's why I got to share it with all the Dirty Siders. And with that, should we hit some videos?
Let's do it.
Man, I wanted that shirt, I'll just tell you. Jazzed up for the shirt. All right, the video vault. There's some good stuff in here. But first, the highlight, the must-watch. Welcome back, Valtteri. Pretty fly for a Finn guy on the Dirty Side of the Track channel. An amazing video. Kudos to Rob. And kudos to Andy Ellis. Rob, do you want to kind of explain how you put this together? Because you did this all. I'm like, I get no credit. This thing is unbelievably good.
It started either back in November or December as a stupid idea that came into my brain of doing something to welcome Valtteri back to the grid for the new season. I went back to our interview with him because, apparently we spoke to him on this pokey little pod.
You can't do that while I'm drinking it at the same time. You mean this?
This is Valtteri Bottas, and you're listening to the Dirty Side of the Track.
And I was remembering him saying that his favourite band was The Offspring. I was like, okay, so that took me down a rabbit hole. I was watching the Pretty Fly for a White Guy video, and as my brain sometimes does, started swapping out lyrics. And I was like, do you know what? I think I could rewrite all these lyrics to be completely Valtteri related. So that became a stupid little challenge. And when I'd done it, thank you, Andy Ellis, for your patience and humouring me. So I send him a note and say, look, I've done a thing where I've kind of rewritten all these lyrics. I know it's a big ask, but do you want to completely re-record the entire song and do the lyrics for us? Because obviously the huge amounts of money we pay him, he was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And it's been a slow burner. Every now and again, he'll come back and say, yeah, I'm doing some little sample. Here, have a little listen to this. And then we needed, at the beginning of that track, it counts in I think it's Spanish, maybe, at the beginning. I was like, we can't count in Spanish, we need to count in Finnish. So I reached out to Ben that had come on this pod, because in my head, he lives in Finland and speaks Finnish. I got in touch with him. He speaks Swedish, but knows some Finnish, and was game for doing it. So he recorded the counting in Finnish for us. And then his wife, Cassandra, that came on the pod with him, I don't know, she volunteered or she was volunteered to do the female lyrics. We sent it all over to Andy. He's worked his magic, and I went and sort of threw a few images together to go with the lyrics, and it came out kind of well, I think.
Kind of well. I think it's amazing. You're being humble, which is rare for you. I would say this was great. Like, honestly, if you should pause on your podcast platform, go watch this on YouTube, and then come back. It will be top in the show notes below. But really well done, man. Really well done. I thought it was great.
And give it a thumbs up and a comment. Let's get this algorithm sending it out to everybody.
Yes.
I'm still kind of hoping that, although we might never hear back, I'm still kind of hoping that Paul will just slide it under Valtteri's nose at one point and go, hey, you like The Offspring? There's two old idiots that you went on the podcast. Well, I can't believe they've got all this time on their hands, but look what these idiots have done. And just, even if he watches the first 30 seconds. Anyway.
There you go. The new 2026 F1 opening titles, Formula One channel, 1 minute. This is fine. We did not get George in the traditional 2 or 3 year T-pose, which was a little bit of a disappointment. But Kimmy gave us the all right hand gesture low on the screen. I don't know if people noticed it, but as the only person doing anything, you get Kimmy is doing like this. I'm like, oh, all right, that's a thing now. And I did not, since I was remote, I'd like to apologize. Maybe not last year either, but for a few years on the dirty side, I've taken a Snapchat filter to these, and I've had the drivers doing different things with their faces, and I think it's hilarious. I didn't get a chance to do it this year, so maybe summer break opportunity. You never know. The world's first F1 season ticket on full-time Formula Channel, 5.5 minutes. This is the fella we heard about last year who created a budget, went to every race. He put aside 20,000 pounds, euros, dollars? 20,000 of some monetary device. And he went slightly over like 20,400. And he's beating himself up. I'm like, dude, that's a rounding error, and it rounds down and you're fine. It's amazing. Heineken latched onto this, and they gave him tickets to every Grand Prix this year, plus a guest with his travel. I am now insanely jealous, not envious, jealous of this guy. Anyway, good for him, and he's going to be sort of throughout the year talking about his journeys. What's next? 9.26. So on the What's Next channel, 28 minutes. This is Paul Ripke's blog with Valtteri vlog, and they chat. And this time they're recording literally in an elevator bank in a hotel in Australia somewhere. And whenever they're talking, and it's fun, it's a good watch. I enjoy it. They're talking about their new microphones, and then all of a sudden you hear dings, and some people come out of the elevator, and they're like apologizing on the pod, like, sorry, we're in the way, you can walk by. And then one of them is Max coming back from paddle, and Max pops into the video and waves to everyone, and he talks to Valtteri and Paul Ripke for like a minute, and then he goes back to his elevator and leaves, because Valtteri's recording in the middle of the elevator bank. But it was so good. And then finally, meet the 2026 Formula One drivers on the Formula One channel. 24 minutes. This is a long one. This was great. Like, this is where they interview the drivers, and they ask them random questions. If you could have a superpower, what would it be? And what's your favorite movie character? Lando was on fire. They said, what would be your superpower? Never age. How old would you like to be? He's like, 3. Okay. And then they said, favorite movie character you like to be? He said, Knight Rider. And at this point, I'm like, yeah, this is put it in my veins. And Fernando is great. Valtteri has a badger. There's so much you got to check out. So if you haven't watched this, put it in your watch later at some point on YouTube. It is definitely worth it. Rob, anything you want to add?
No, shut that door and let's talk racing.
Let's do it.
So, practice came around, and just because of the time zones and work and late nights and all that kind of stuff, I really didn't see a single live minute of FP1 or 2. I watched 3, I think, to some degree. 3 was like 8:30 for me, I think, on Friday night, right? So I watched 3. That one. So there wasn't a lot really to take from it, like there really is for practice. I think I was probably over analyzing it when I was watching the highlights to sort of see if we're going to see anything from the new regs. Really just took away that Mercedes seemed to be hiding their pace until FP3, where they decided to unleash it, and then Kimi got too excited and caught a curb, and kind of slightly binned it. Just a smidge, a little scratch, little polish out.
Yeah, they'll buff that out. It'll be fine. I don't know how they got that car back together for quality.
I don't. There were just bits everywhere, and it's...
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to see on the YouTube, but that my wife bought me a gift for Valentine's Day, and I've been on the road. But it's one of those put together, the Biborego, put your own car together. And if you see all the parts on top of the thing there, that's what Kimi's car looked like, except green instead of red. We also learned Valtteri's penalty had been magically erased, his 5-place grid penalty, because it was Article B 2.5.4, unserved grid penalties imposed in the previous 12 months will be scrubbed off. I didn't understand this fully because it was more than 12 months ago, and I didn't really understand the way it worked. And I don't understand why it's gone. But does that mean Schwartzman's is gone too? Because remember, he got that 5-place grid penalty from running in a practice, and then Jenson Button had one.
Jenson Button, they must all be gone. If Valtteri's have gone,
right?
And you're right. This rule makes no sense. If you read it black and white, then
it's
all
in
those
the
3 should still have it because
right.
Before the 12. But they went, we all love Valtteri. Just go on. It's close enough to 12 months.
He's not going to win anyway. So, and he's going to be starting in the back. So what's the harm? But they removed it, and then we saw that during the practice time, and then we went to quali.
Yeah, we went to quali, and I know I said no. I'll hold my full feelings back until we do the kind of the retrospect at the end of the race. But this is where we got to see the cars in action really for the first time going for it under these regs. It's fair to say it's a bit of a learning curve because there was things that grated on me a little bit of like, there was one clip that was going viral. I think it was one of the Alpines on the straight where they were showing him losing 70 miles or 70 kilometers an hour as the engine harvested. I'm like, but you should be flat out here. And like the corner that should be a really hard braking one, as they're throwing it in as fast as they can, they're kind of almost pootling around because they're just coasting to let the harvest in. And that's fine. That's just something we've got to get used to because that's just the way these cars run. So I'm not saying that I one way or the other right now. It was just weird to watch. It was like every moment was a learning moment where you're going, oh, okay, so they do that now. Okay, fine, I've got it, I think. One person that didn't have it was Max.
Holy
Because
cow.
whatever happened,
They cut to it. They didn't like they were
they
showing.
cut to it. Okay, let me
Yeah.
just ask you a question. They cut to it. Do you instantly think it's Hadjar?
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way that's Max. Max Verstappen's a driving machine sent back from the future. There's no way that's him. And in at the same time, inside the Mercedes garage, Kimi's mechanics are like, oh, thank God, an extra couple minutes, as they're putting the car back together. Yeah, I was shocked. Max said his rear axle locked, and the commentators were trying to figure out if this was because of the regen and the harvesting came through, or did it have the settings wrong, or was it just a different issue? Did he downshift at the wrong time? I was actually worried his hands were okay because they kept cutting to him, shaking his hands, and the onboard, you could see the steering wheel violently when he hit the wall, violently shaking. It looked like he had his hands on the wheel. And that's what Ricardo, as they pointed out, broke his hand in Zandvoort when he was trying to avoid Piastri on the carousel there. But yeah, so that was wild to see Max flying through the gravel out of control. The Mercedes were fast. George was so fast. We were waiting to see Kimi. The Ferraris were looking okay. They were on mediums, which was very confusing to me. The whole Q1, they were on mediums. I'm like, all right. The thing that crushed me that I learned, like you trying to see the 70 kph decrease on the straight, Hamilton, when he came around the corner for the final straight, and the start-finish is kind of far down the main straight in Australia, he started with about half battery. It was gone by the start-finish line. You just watched it. And again, I'm hoping this meter is accurate, but you just watched it go down so fast. I'm like, no wonder they have to do all these things to harvest and to recharge. He drained half his battery in half a straight. I'm like, that's insane.
I know. But what that did was put Hamilton top. So at this point, I'm thinking, well, top on mediums. I'm like,
right.
Have Ferrari actually been holding something back as well? Have we got... Everyone's saying Mercedes is going to drive off into the distance, and no doubting that they looked fast, and Kimi absolutely nailed it. Like one lap came out and boom, went second, or whatever it was, after they just rebuilt that thing. But yeah, there was kind of like, oh, okay, welcome to the party, Ferrari. People not being welcome to the party that we lost in Q1 was Stroll and Alonso, not a surprise. Verstappen, obviously, big surprise, but not a surprise that he didn't advance, given that he put it in a wall. Bottas and Perez, not a surprise. I don't think anybody expected them to get out of there. But Sainz.
Well, he didn't run.
Williams well, I know, but Sainz didn't run. And it's going to show, I think, as we get to the race, is that Williams are not... We were worried about them when they missed, whatever they missed.
Barcelona.
Shakedown. Yeah, and James Vowles just keeps telling us it's going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. But we'll get there in the race later, but I'm not really on the it'll be okay bus at the moment with Williams.
Just a nit here as we get to Q2. I would prefer they dropped 7 drivers in Q1 and then 5 in Q2. I recognize they went 6-6 and then you have the top 10. Keep the top 10. But if you add more teams, you should just get down to 15 in my mind. And I don't know why. There's some... I know, it doesn't make a lick of sense. They went 6 and 6 removed and then... top 10. I think it should be like 5 removed in Q2 no matter what, and then top 10. And if we get another team at some point, if the Hyundai team comes in and we've got 24 drivers, well then 9 get removed in Q1 and then 5 in Q2, and no one's gonna like my idea. I know, it's just I didn't like 6 and 6 for whatever reason. It just didn't feel right to me. So then we get to Q2, and Mercedes reminds us again, now that Kimi had the whole quali session there to run, they are fast. They're very, 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 very fast. Ferrari looked fast, but not consistent in Q2. Neither Charles nor Lewis could get like all 3 sectors put together. Yeah. They would go purple, and then green, and then yellow. And then the next run, they go yellow, purple, green. I'm like, come on, guys. And they could not quite put it together. They looked fast, but we lost Franco, Alex, Pierre, the Hulk, Ollie, and Esti. So a lot of the midfield competitors that we anticipated maybe being sniffing in the points, we lost. I figured we'd see Ollie a little higher. I figured we'd see Esti a little higher, Pierre a little higher. So I was a little surprised that they all went out in Q2 and didn't make the top 10 shootout. I was excited, however, to see, in my mind, an Audi making Q3.
Yeah.
Bortoletto. Now he made Q3. He didn't run in Q3.
Did
we'll
he?
get to
Did
that.
he? Did he
Yeah.
get to Q3? This was my little observation, right? Because he kind of never got back to the pits, so he's
No.
kind of like stuck in limbo between Q2 and Q3. I mean, technically the session was over and he was in,
He's
but
in a
then he kind of like
multiverse somewhere
died in the
stuck.
pit lane, and I was like, this is like Harry Potter's platform 9 3/4. Like Bortoletto just disappeared through some like magic pit exit door.
Maybe
was he
we
in
didn't
Q3?
realize that the end of Q2 is one event and the start of Q3 is another. It's not a singular thing. So he finished Q2 in the top 10. He just didn't start Q3.
Yeah, it was just very bizarre,
9
kind of
and
where he had
3/4.
to pull it over. He just didn't even get back. It's like if you could just rolled a little bit further, they could have maybe done something
Yeah.
and got him going. But
Well,
no,
he almost caused
all
a
done.
massive crash in his slowdown.
Oh,
There was that Lindblad came in, almost hit Lawson.
Gee.
Holy
I mean, he's
moly.
young. He's a young kid anyway. But did you hear how high the octaves had gone in his voice when he was explaining what was going on when he'd come in? Because he
did.
nearly wiped both of those guys out.
Well, I mean, someone had to tell him. Someone needed a yellow flagger on his radio. But anyhow, so we get to Q3. Like we said, Bortoletto did not run, but he made it in. We saw Lindblad and Lawson in Q3. And at this point, we're watching, we're getting ready to go, and something is on the track. Something big is sitting on the track, and we're trying to figure out what. And it's got a big green handle on it, and you're like, uh-oh, that looks bad. And then we see a video of...
It looks bulky as well. It looks like it's going to hurt when you hit it.
Exactly. And then we see a video of Kimi turning a corner, and one, whether it's part of it or the other one, I don't know, but it was a radiator cooler. One went flying into the gravel, one went flying into the catch fence. And when you see the video, you're like, how did it end up on the track? It bounces off the fence right onto the racing line. And it's pretty big, and you're thinking, all right, no one's going to hit that, until you realize the cars are coming up at it at about 180 miles an hour. And so Lando just blew it apart, just blew it up like Valtteri
and you
with
see
that
he's
mirror
on board.
in
Like
Qatar.
you can see how low they're sat in the car.
Yeah.
They haven't got the halo or whatever, or the front of the car, like must completely blindside him because I think they slightly crest as well as they come around that. And
You didn't
he
see it at
obviously has
all.
no idea what he's hit. He's like,
Right.
I think I hit some debris. Like, no, you didn't hit some debris. You absolutely smashed a fan into oblivion. How he didn't get a puncture, I don't know, because both wheels roll right over that thing, and the replay, you just boom, just bits
And then
everywhere.
they're working on his wing, and they show him in the garage, and this is me sitting there watching. They're basically just like wiping it down, and then they pull it
And
out.
applying
looked
duct
like,
tape, it looked like. I'm just going to put some tape on this. This will be fine.
This will be good enough. Anyway, what we ended up finding was that Mercedes was fast. This is where it meant a lot. And in Q3, George Russell was almost a second ahead of the next team, Isaac Hadjar, about 0.8 ahead of Isaac Hadjar in the Red Bull. Oh, man. At this point, I'm starting to get worried about the season. This is where the first, I'm Johnny Optimist over here. I'm like, it'll be great. These regs will be fine. When I see they're 3 seconds slower than last year's qualifying, bad. When I see Mercedes a second ahead of the next team, that's bad. Not just from these regs, but whenever anyone nails it, I'm worried about a 2023 Max Verstappen situation where we know who's going to win every race before it starts.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like, oh boy, this better have good racing, because I'm getting real nervous about these, low speed straights, the power cuts, the super clipping, the way we're taking corners, the recharge and regen. Max can't control the car, and he's clearly one of the best at car control. I'm thinking, man, this may not be good. I'm hoping for good racing. So my journey at the end of Q3 was very low. I was very nervous.
Yes. I was not a fan of qualifying because I think, and this is on me, I just need to adapt to these new regs and get used to what qualifying is going to be now, I think, because our brains have been trained that quali is maximum, push the car as hard as you can, find every last millimeter of track, use the much track limits as you can to throw it round corners and bring it home as fast as you can. And while obviously you are still trying to bring it home as fast as you can, the way that you now do that under these cars, it doesn't look right in my brain yet. It's like, hang on, you look like you're slowing down. This is your final. Huh? What? Oh, they must have used a boost. And anyway, we'll get there when we recap it. So that was quali. I've got to say, Hadjar, I was so thrilled to see him at third, because I'm thinking, well, at least is the second seat curse over.
Yes.
Because he'd looked close on times in FP123, and he wasn't too far off I mean, he beat the Ferraris, he beat the McLarens. I'm like, well, even if Max had qualified, I'd only probably have slotted Max ahead of Hadjar. I don't think he would have beaten either of the Mercedes. So at worst, let's say Max had somehow found something extra and got closer to them, he'd have been 3/10 maybe off.
Yeah, a couple tenths at most,
maximum,
maybe,
like
yeah.
maximum. Yeah, so I thought, yeah, nice one, Hadjar. So
I thought
then,
the same. I thought the same.
so then the race comes around. Let me just talk you through this. I'm getting in the zone, ready to watch the race. I decided to just binge watch a little bit of Seinfeld for a while. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to watch a few episodes and then I'll. And this is my tactical sort of napping. I can watch Seinfeld and nap in and out of it. And I thought I just need to like get a little tactical nap here and ready for the race. And also, my phone pings about maybe 40 minutes, maybe 35 before the start of the race. It's the Sat Man. I'm like, oh, is this him checking in to see if I'm live? Because we like to check with each other that we're both live, so we don't spoil for the race for each other on WhatsApp. Did you see what happened? I was, oh my God, this better not be something big, because if I already missed the first big thing of the season, I'm like, I'm just about to turn it on. Why? Oscar's crashed. So, what?
At this point of the race is 35 minutes away.
Yeah, I was like, do you mean the warm-up lap, the parade lap, those Jeeps they're going in or something? Has there been something funny where Piastri's crashed his Jeep and Sap's just winding me up? So, of course, now I get in front of the TV as fast as I can just to be watching replays of Oscar coming around a corner. Everything looks fine here, nothing to see here. Oh, no, in the wall. I mean, was it old tyres? Too much curb? It didn't even look like it was going to go where it ended up.
No, it didn't. Anthony Davidson was going through it on the SkyPad for a while and just effectively saying the car didn't seem warmed up. The shifts were really grinding. It just didn't seem like it was ready, and he may have put too much power through and been on the paint of the curb at the same time. I don't know. It's Max. It's the same thing that happened to Max, happened to Oscar. The car occasionally has a mind of its own, and if you're not going in a direct straight line, good luck controlling it. So
I did feel like the introduction to the race was, today's introduction is sponsored by Torque Spike. I've never really heard that phrase before, but they've said it like 1,000 times as they were. I think
last
he had
year,
Torque Spike.
Carlos had that massive torque delivery. I think I deleted the sound. It was like a massive torque delivery. Yeah, I was actually sitting there trying to figure out how to get off the, no offense, F1 TV, trying to get off the F1 TV feed to the Sky feed on Apple. And just for everyone's benefit, because I got a lot of questions last night during the race, you go to the feeds section, and at least on my Apple TV app, it's all the way to the right. On some people's, it's
I think they need
just
to
down
move
at the
that because I
bottom.
think it's not intuitive. You go to the feeds, you go down, you see some of the broadcasts, and then you get
drivers.
into the drive, and then you get
Right.
into the drivers' feeds, which, by the way, is an amazing addition that you can just on demand go to one of the drivers' feeds. But your brain would tell you, well, there's going to be 22 feeds here. I don't need to see all of those. And then they throw in the Sky Sports feed right at the end of the whole driver
Very end.
lineup. But
Yeah. So I'm going to that, and then I get to Sky, and then Oscar crashes. I'm like, am I live? What just happened? Is this? Yeah. And then we get to the grid, no Oscar. We watch the grid walk, and I'm on Twitter trying to put a meme out there about the crashes and everything. And then I see a note, Hulk being wheeled to garage. And no one on the commentary is talking about it. So I send Rob a text, I think Hulk's out too. And you're like, why would you think that? I'm like, I saw something on Twitter. And so I think I then said something smart. Aren't you happy you were friends with someone who could find stuff like that like me? And he goes, oh, you can read Twitter? And I'm like, well, you got to decipher what's real and what's not. I mean, anyway. So yeah, Hulk didn't start either. So we go from 22 to 20. And Rob and I put a quick poll in our notes. How many people finished this darn thing? I said 12, Rob said 14. The answer is, of course, 16 were running at the end. So Rob wins, but that's not a point. That's an exhibition point. That's a non-championship point.
Non-championship,
it's a non-championship point. But yeah, and at this point, I got my Cheetos ready. Let's do this.
I will just say, had you won that, oh my gosh, you would have been lobbying for that to be a point in the Rob versus Brian
I will
championship.
talk about the points of fantasy when we get there, because I still think it's undervalued for a whole year's event. But
oh, what?
Isn't it just a point? Or is it its own event?
Yeah, it's its own event, fantasy.
Okay.
We didn't include that in the...
Perfect.
Okay, so Brian's got his Cheetos ready. He's all ready to binge Sat Snacks Australian edition. We're getting ready for lights out. We're sitting there. It's like I'm wondering if the person that has to do the blue light has to hold that button down for a while. It makes his finger hurt and then he has to go across the other lights because I think his finger's really tired. I don't even know that the fifth light lit up. That thing went out so fast. It was
Fast as ever.
1, 2, 3, 4. Logo. We just
Completely. And actually, Rob and I had been talking about this. I had said to him on Saturday and then Sunday morning for my fantasy team, I was hoping, and I called him Chucky, I was hoping Chucky Leclerc would find that rocket ship start and then never look back because he was on my fantasy team. I had him 2x. And boy, did I love the start because it was total chaos. First of all, Charles found the rocket ship setting and and he wove in and out of people. He's going around people. I don't know. I can't even talk. From the front of the grid view, like down the grid, from the first corner, it looked like he had hit people because he was going so much left and right, but the depth, you couldn't tell how close the cars were. He went right into first just immediately. By the first corner, he was clear of the field. It was crazy. And the flip of that is Liam, who didn't move.
Oh, I know. You see Colapinto, I mean, nearly wiped him out big style. That was reactions and a half there.
Unbelievable.
Did you also see that George unlocked a new skill on his car where his wheels turn diagonally and he just snakes sideways across the track when he starts?
I didn't see that.
Did you notice? Go back and watch the start. When George floors it, he obviously gets some wheel spin or something. And how did they say it on the commentary? Like he just sort of snaked left. He sort of went forward and left at the same time rather than straight forward, which I think is what allowed people to come streaming past him. And it was just nuts. I was just waiting for see carbon fiber at some point. Like somebody was going to collect somebody, but somehow they were all away. Lewis came charging through with a double pass where he just sort of snuck through. Who had got him at the start? I didn't write it in the notes, but I was just so excited. I couldn't type fast enough at this point because Lewis managed to get a double pass on. George got Charles, and it just looked like it was really easy. I thought, that's it. That's him disappeared. And then we started to see what everyone's going on about with this yo-yo effect of battery, using it, boost. Can you defend it? Seemed like, no, you couldn't, because almost straight away, Charles got George back again. And they were just like that for what felt like a very long time, just like following each other around. It was just wheel to wheel. It was just amazing at this point.
It was, and it stayed like that for a handful of laps where even into lap 8, George got Charles, and then they get him back, and I'm writing, wow, 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 wow. I mean, like, for the first 10 laps, it felt like we had a Mercedes sandwich. I almost said a Ferrari sandwich. I almost did the unthinkable, because Lewis rocked up to the party, and so we had, at one point, Charles, George, Lewis, and then basically it was Charles and George going back and forth, and Lewis just waiting for someone to make a mistake and seeing if he could pounce. But like you say, every time Charles took George or George took Charles, they'd flip it around a few turns later because the battery had gone flat on them as they'd been using it to do the first overtake. And so that's where that's my struggle again. I love wheel-to-wheel racing, and these cars seem to allow continued battling from a tire perspective. Because if we go back to 21 and before, you'd have to back off after a lap or 2 laps of getting close to someone because your tires were melting by being right behind them. We get to 22, and Ferrari was one of the teams who looked fast, and we actually heard a little bit about Charles winning early races. But Ferrari looked good, and they were battling with Max, and they could push those tires for a couple laps of battling, but it was a different kind of battling. It was more straight line, DRS, get ready for a corner. This is more in the corners because
it's more anywhere. It just didn't seem to. It was just like anywhere is an overtaking opportunity now, which was just when we summarize this at the end, I'll unleash my thoughts. But I do want because you've referenced this a couple of times, so. Just where we are. We're only kind of 5-6 laps in. Kimi gets Lindblad and goes on a charge, and he's going to join the other two. They dropped, Ferrari and Mercedes dropped the rest frighteningly quickly.
Yes.
It wasn't many laps. Now, maybe people are still working out how to drive these things in the heat of battle, when to deploy, when to charge, when to all this. But whatever happened, 4 cars just very quickly went off into the sunset. But also, we probably even had contender for worst analogy of the season.
Oh my God.
After only 5 laps in, didn't we, Brian?
Unbelievable. And then it continued the whole friggin' race. Crofty and his sweet shop analogy. He's like, imagine you're in a sweet shop. I'm like, you had me at imagine. Now I'm lost. And then you're going to buy this thing But then I didn't even remember the analogy. It was so bad. I was just cringing the whole time. He kept bringing it up.
He was trying to equate buying sweets or candy, I guess, for our US friends, to the batteries. And
I didn't get it.
couldn't work out. I was trying to work out what the hell was going on the racetrack anyway, trying to keep up with notes while also trying to listen to Crofty butcher some kind of analogy. I mean, I come up with some pretty tenuous links sometimes for analogies, but this one even took me to the limit. I was like, what has this got to do with anything? Do you know what I think it is?
No.
And I think I was feeling this as well. I didn't actually know what was going on. I don't know these regs well enough yet.
Yeah.
I couldn't work out where anybody was. I couldn't remember where straight mode was allowed to be deployed. I couldn't remember when boost could or couldn't be, or the second gap. All these new regs, I did feel a little bit overwhelmed at the beginning because I'm like, I can't process what's going on here because it looks great and cars are fighting each other, but I can't build a view in my head as to whether I think anyone's nailing it right now because I'm so confused as to what's happening on the track. It was just...
And you know what? The hard part for me is we had good racing for the lead, which is always something we talk about. Like when Max would drive off into the sunset in 23 in the RB19, and we would sit here and talk about, well, it's the battle for second, and that can be exciting too, right? Question. And it was like we were generating topics. We were in the sweet shop looking for something to eat. I don't know. I can't. The freaking analogy. And we've always said, it's nice when you have midfield battles. It's nice when you have teammate battles. But the battle for the lead is what everyone always wants to see. It grabs the headlines. And for the first 10 or so laps, we had that. And I was also confused. I enjoyed the battling throughout the midfield and the overtakes. George locked up one time, and then Charles is right back with him. Lewis was there. Kimi was catching up. Now, like you say, those four were dropping everybody by a rate of knots. Max is up to 11. And for the first 10 or 11 laps, I'm thinking, this is pretty exciting. This is like, I'm enjoying watching these guys battle each other out, regardless of why. Right? Like, Who cares? I don't get the regs fully yet either. I understand them on paper, but the application in the race is like a different situation. And I was enjoying watching the racing. And then we cut to our boy Isaac pulled over on the side of the track, the car smoking. Oh boy, I was really disappointed for him because I was enjoying watching him race. And
well, you actually caused it because you just typed, I did not expect to be here and not have lost anybody in the first 11 laps. And then the next thing we saw on lap 12 was smoke coming about of Isaac's car. Like,
that is correct.
Great. There goes my 2 times in my fantasy. So double the DNF. Yeah, thanks. Thanks,
You're welcome.
Ford Red Bull powertrain combined with Brian's cursing.
You're welcome.
And then this is probably a big defining moment in the race, and I'll come back at it later. I'll probably have a little bit of a rant on this at the end of the race. But they had to put out a VSC for this. Mercedes pitted, Ferrari stayed out. Everyone was going off on one about, Ferrari have messed this up. I just honestly think they were committed to the one stop. And they just thought they would this isn't the right time. If we do this now, we're going to have to completely rethink everything. Maybe we don't have the pace to stay with the Mercs if we do this. So let's just do the opposite to Mercs. Let's commit to our one stop and just see they're going to have to do a 2 stop, or so everyone thought. So we'll fight them at the second round of pit stops. That's what I actually thought. But yeah, what are we only 15,
12.
18 laps into the race, or we were about to get Valtteri go as well. And that was kind of the end of the battle for the lead. We're going to get to lap 18. Valtteri's car is going to break down, unfortunately, and do another VSC. It forced their hand that they couldn't even decide if they wanted to go switch to a 2-stop now, because where Valtteri was, it closed the pit lane. They just missed it the first time round, so by the time they came back round, it was pit lane closed. So I think they just leaned into it and went, screw it. We just got to commit to the 1-stop now.
Right, agreed. I think that's really important too, because they passed the pit lane entrance before Valtteri conked out there, and then it was closed when they came back around under VSC. So they really didn't have an option that second VSC to do anything about it. I was sitting there like, plan F for F it up, Ferrari, like taking a page out of the old book. Like,
question?
Should we stop? I don't know. I am with you. I think they were on we're on a one-stopper, or we anticipate enough VSCs or SCs that we're going to find one later. Because these cars are so unreliable. Like, there's going to be enough people. There's a war of attrition. We'll find one later on. I would have liked them maybe to have split the strategy and just seen what they could have done. Put one of them on a quick stop and then put them out on hard and see if you made it to the end.
Maybe they could have split it, but I think they knew
hindsight
what the
is,
pace of their car was,
50-50.
and we'll come to it later. Why I think it actually almost confirms that they would have been even more screwed had they done it anyway. But this point, a lot of pits are going on. And I wrote a note to Brian said, "Are Williams, Haas, or Alpine even in this race? Because we got like a triple witness protection going on that we hadn't
Didn't even
seen."
know they were there. I had to go look for the Haas logo on there. Like, are they out there? There's Pierre's Franco Racing. Because we hadn't really we'd seen that first start where you got to go around Liam, and Williams didn't get a second of air coverage the whole race. I'm not even sure they ran. Like it could have been the Matrix we're talking about. And I was actually thinking about this because I'm a weirdo. We always call it witness protection, which is the right analogy. But when you were a kid, did you ever, growing up in Great Britain, do you ever talk about the Bermuda Triangle?
Yeah, I know what the Bermuda Triangle is.
It was a huge thing when I was a kid. Like, planes got lost in the Bermuda Triangle, but ships got lost in the Bermuda Triangle. And that was like a joke. Like, you didn't do my homework? I must have lost it in the Bermuda Triangle. No one talks about it anymore. What happened to the Bermuda Triangle? Bring back the Bermuda Triangle. It was a great idea, a great thing, a great ruse or whatever it is, and we don't talk about it anymore. So I'm putting it out there into the wind for everyone listening this week while you're at work or school or whatever you may be doing. Just drop a little Bermuda Triangle reference out there and see how it's received.
Well, coming out of the Bermuda Triangle, the moment we typed in the notes that we hadn't seen an Alpine or a Haas, then I don't know. Again, it was late. I was tired. I was trying to pay attention. One of the Alpines almost runs. One of the Haas's, was it?
I don't remember.
Was it Gassman and Ocon? Because those two were getting feisty a lot, and they got history. So I think it was. They almost. I don't even know how they didn't take each other out. The wheels almost seemed to phase through each other. Like
Yes.
they weren't solid, like
Right.
those magician tricks. I was like, how has that not ended up in both or one of them spinning off? And okay,
I mean, they did touch, and then, like you say, one went inside the other. I was expecting. You remember Alonso at Coda? Was it Lance who hit him
when he got airborne?
We have straight up into the air when that happened. I was anticipating that. I was surprised George hadn't caught Lewis yet, because after the pit stops, he was catching him, but not at the pace with which I anticipated.
Yeah.
That happening. So I was just surprised. I was surprised by that. And then, speaking of surprises, at this point, after Fernando had retired the car 10 laps ago, they announced Fernando's back out there, and you see him on the screen, and he's below Valtteri, who had also retired the car. And I'm like, hold on a second. I know it's late on a Saturday night, and I'd had a couple glasses of alcohol, but what? And so it took all of my mental fortitude to figure out that they'd unretired the car. He'd come back out, but he hadn't done as many laps as Valtteri, so he's below Valtteri, even though Valtteri's out.
So bizarre. So bizarre. So we had both the Ferraris were still out. George finally catches him up, overtakes him, and that forces. So Charles has already been in. George finally gets Lewis. Lewis goes in about a lap later. So he's got 3 lap offs left to Charles, and then both of those come out. And I'm like, well, here we go then. So Ferrari have gone all in on, we're going to stay with you. We're not too far behind you. We've got you. You've got to pit again. We haven't, because we're one stop in this. I was like, oh, Ferrari. And even the commentators have got on board this train at this point going,
Yep.
this pendulum is swinging back to Ferrari here, because they're only 10 seconds behind them. And now the Mercedes boys are going to be waiting for a VSC, because when they pit, they're going to lose track position. I was like, oh, okay, we're in for a Grand Slam finish. And then the words you hate to hear come across the radio. George, do you think you can make these tyres last until the end? And with every fibre of my body, I'm like, please let me see the radio message coming back saying, no, they're already starting to grain. Of course, George, the tyre whisperer, goes, yeah, I'll probably do twice this race with one set of tyres. And then the seed was sown with me that Kimi wasn't all on board this. They said, what do you think? Is it going to be very brave? Yeah, but it's doable, isn't it? And if the penny was starting to drop here, I'm like, oh my gosh. This isn't going to be a two-stopper for Mercedes. Now we need intervention. Now we need a crash to reset all this, because this isn't going to change now. Ferrari aren't going to magically come to life with pace. They were all in on, like, we've done our job. We've committed to the one stop. We've stayed well within a pit stop of Mercedes. So when they pit again, we're home and hosed. And now they're not. I was like, And even with the tyre offset, and this is where I say that if they even matched Mercedes, they never caught them. but they never got dropped by them.
Right.
So if we want the little tiny silver lining around all of this, Mercedes might not be as fast or so far clear of as Ferrari as everyone is trying to make out after this weekend. Because if the Mercedes, like they didn't drop them, is what I'm trying to say.
Right,
I know
I agree.
Ferrari didn't catch them, but they just held station, which means they had equal pace for the end of the race. I know I know Mercedes were probably going a little bit well within themselves to not burn out those tyres because now they were trying to make them last. But we've seen that happen before in the past where Max has allegedly been on tyre saving mode and has still managed to add 15, 20, 30 seconds to the pack.
Right, and get a fastest lap. I'm wondering if tires matter as much as we thought in years past. Because of the battery saving and the lifting and coasting, maybe the tires aren't going to see the high level of deg unless we go to a high deg track.
We're not seeing cornering speeds, are we?
What do you say?
We're not seeing as high cornering speeds because people are lifting to get the revs and clip.
So maybe the tires aren't going to be the cause of strategic blunders, is my point.
They're going to last longer, aren't they?
I'm afraid that we may see that. That's what. So this is, again, Rob and I are processing this in real time. I don't think track position matters as much anymore. I don't think tires matter as much anymore. Like, track position matters, but I don't think I think no longer would you stay out there forever holding it because you're afraid of giving up. Battery matters. Your engine matters. How you deploy matters. And it feels maybe like tires don't matter as much. The pit stop, one stop, when Mercedes switched to a one-stopper, they didn't have any problems doing that because the tires weren't degrading as fast. They didn't fall off a cliff like that. At least it didn't seem that way.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm with you, though. I believe, here's my summary of what you just said for me. I think Mercedes has quali pace that Ferrari doesn't have. I think race pace-wise, they're closer than people gave them credit for. And Ferrari still has the magical boost off the start line. So, like, I think, I love that. What is that? It's like Mario Kart when the lights are at 2, you hit the gas button.
Yes, 2, you hold the revs down.
That's what Charles has in his car, and Lewis has it too. This was also, remember, the first time that the customer cars got the latest version of the current engines. So, like, McLaren just put in, this engine was new to them. It's similar to the one they'd been running, but it was newer to them. They may figure it out. But I did not love the fact that Mercedes and Ferrari were that far ahead of everybody. Max made it up to 6.
I was going to say I'd like to see in China.
Me too. A full Max.
What he can do, a full Max.
But he couldn't catch Lando. And I know you said you enjoyed that battle.
Oh, we'll get there. Come on, we're jumping ahead. So we're all over. No, we're not. We're back at lap 34 because we've got to do.
Nothing else happens. A wing mirror falls.
Cadillac starts falling apart. Bits. Oh, there's more than a wing mirror. That was a big chunky bit of whatever that was that they sent the marshal out on the track.
Super surprised they put a marshal out with cars going by, even under VSC.
Yeah. Same here.
I mean, these cars are not controllable. You watch Oscar go off and Max go off. What happened if someone's rear axle locked right into the marshal? I mean, I thought that was a bad idea, but. Anyway.
So at this point, lap 36. What we got? 22 laps. Was it 58 laps?
Yeah, 58, somewhere around there.
Something.
I can't remember.
So we had both Haas in the points at this, and then we got the lesser spotted second retirement for Fernando. This is all fact finding for them, right? We discussed this. I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was at Spa. Somebody unretired themselves and went back out again. And there is no official retirement in Formula One. There is no such thing as a retirement. You don't lodge it with F1 and say this car's retired, we're out.
Right.
Most retirements are obvious by the fact that cars are in pieces or smoke has gone everywhere. But if you retire it for some other reason and then sort of fix that within the limits of what you're allowed to do.
Well, Stroll did that too. I mean, they both did it. And Stroll was 12 laps down at one point. I'm like, 12 laps? But again, fact-finding. I'm with you. I'm happy they did it because they need it. That car does not look good yet.
No. So then Lindblad, who did an absolute stellar job, we'll get to him later, was finally taken by Ollie, but then he fought back. So again, we were getting these back and forths. We hadn't seen them as much. The middle of the race, I don't know if it was people working things out. I read online somewhere as well that because Lando had a quote at the end about he didn't understand when he was going to have power and when he wasn't. Like there's something in the computer system that decides when to harvest or when to deploy. It made it sound like, which if true, I don't like the idea of that the driver's not fully in control of things. But someone else said, "Oh yeah, there was something on Threads," and I can't find this to disprove it or prove it one way or the other. that is it the ECU, whatever it is, the computer system in the engine can actually learn over the course of the race the braking habits and the harvesting habits, and then try to sort of optimize itself. Now, did the race settle down because everyone's car had finally figured it out, and now we didn't get as much crazy back and forth like we saw at the first half because everything had settled? If that's the case, then please, F1, change that rule. Don't let the computers learn anything. It's great while it's all on the drivers and there's chaos, but I don't know. I can't prove it one way. So if anyone listening knows, do these new regs actually have like a computer system that, quote unquote, learns how the energy harvesting and deployment needs to be done to optimize it? Because if it does, that seems a bit rubbish. But what else did we have here coming into the 50s? Yeah, this is the bit where we just knew there was nothing happening. There was no chase down to the lead. You gave a shout out to Williams for being the only team totally running outside the points.
I'm going to bring that back in SAP stats because I looked and I'm like, oh, the only people with two still going who aren't even making a dent on the race.
Yep. What else did we have?
You know where they were?
Yeah,
we had the Max
triangle. We had the Max Lando. Which it looked like he was going to blow past him. He got really, really close. Then Lando found something from somewhere, or suddenly found, oh, there's a battery switch here. I've not been using that for the entire race.
He had a long extension cord, and he was able to plug in as he went by.
Something, because all of a sudden Lando just seemed to find the ability to keep defending, and then Max just was. Next time I looked up, was 2 seconds behind. I was like, okay.
That's what we should do.
I really don't know how to read this at all.
I just solved it. So did you ever play F-Zero on the Super Nintendo?
Yeah.
I didn't have a Super Nintendo, so I had to play at my friend's house, and it was great. F-Zero, those were electric. Those are battery-powered cars, and F-Zero is better than F1, right? Because it's F3, then F2, then F1, and then F-Zero. And so in order to charge your battery, you had to run over that little strip on the start-finish thing.
Yeah, the charging strip, yeah.
That's what we need here in F1. We should put a charging strip. No, I'm kidding. It's ridiculous. It's F1.5e is what we're dealing with, I'm afraid. But anyhow.
So we kind of got then to, that was it really, 53. Yep. It was just a procession for 5 laps. I think people were just desperately trying to see the finishing flag. They wanted to bring the cars home, take the data back to the workshop.
Crofty gave us the analogy one more time in the sweet shop. He would not stop. I'm afraid, I would like Martin to just whack him with a piece of paper next time he starts talking like that.
I mean, one thing, again, whether he was just nursing tyres, I don't know, but we did see Kimi make take a decent chunk out of George over those remaining laps. He got within like 2 seconds by the end. Lewis almost got Charles, or at least got into the point where he could have made a move, but it was a bit too little too late. So we ended up with George, Kimi, and Charles on the podium, and then coming home with points, Lewis, Lando, Max, Ollie, Limblad on his debut. Woo-hoo.
Awesome.
Bortoletto and the Gasman rounded out the point scoring. So, let's hit it here. Dirty side thoughts of everything. How are you feeling as we stand here recording this race review, Brian?
I'm still very confused. I'm still like, I haven't processed. Like, here's how I'd phrase it. I liked what I saw for the first 2/3 of the race. Like, I was enjoying the first 2/3 of the race. I'm happy Mercedes didn't tootle off slower than last year, but still tootle off into the sunset. Ferrari was there with them. Who knows where Max and Isaac will be if they start a little better and their cars don't go pop. So McLaren isn't ready yet. Like, they got the engine, give them some time. Maybe they'll be around, but they weren't. Lando, well, we didn't see Oscar, but Lando was not nearly as fast as them. The top 4 were separated by 16 seconds. Lando was 51 seconds back of George. There were only 6 cars on the lead lap. I've stolen every SAP stat, basically, at this point. 6 cars on the lead lap. Was there good battling at times? Yeah. Is that something I can be interested in? Are you not entertained? Yeah, I was. But am I entertained for the right reasons? Like, do I want to watch people have to manage these cars in ways that aren't really about going as fast as possible at any point in time? It's just to get around the lap as fast as possible. Is that okay? Like, they interviewed Max, and he said he was, crapping on the cars like he always does. But then he said, I'll race anything. Put me in a shopping trolley, I'll race it. And that's what Max is. You give him anything, and you give the guy next to him the same thing, or gal next to him, he's going to race the wheels off it against him. And I respect that. But he can't run these things as fast as he'd like, because he's got to then slow down to manage the battery. And so I'm struggling. Here's my answer. As of one race, at the micro level, I was okay with the race. I enjoyed it. It kept my attention for 2/3 of the race. No one ran off into the sunset, at least not alone. I don't know enough about where we'll see Red Bull. At the macro level, I'm not sure I really like it.
Yeah, I mean, see, what I would say is on that Max thing, all the drivers are in the same boat. So it is about them racing each other. And it is about them working out how to make this breed of car go the fastest they possibly can. So I think we have to completely let go of, that same thing that I was left a little bit in quali of like seeing cars slowing down on straights, seeing them go around corners slower. That if you can't reconcile that, then I think you just don't tune in for the rest of the season because that's how this reg set is going to be, right?
Yeah.
So I think once I was over that, then yeah, I just want to see how these guys, who's going to be the one that works it out the most, who's going to be the one that works out how to make this reg of car go the fastest. So I definitely enjoyed all the battling at the beginning. There was a stat that I think Nate Saunders put out about that. Oh, I need to go and find his tweet, but it was like not many overtakes in Australia last year, like 49 for the entire race or something, and 140 last night or something stupid in terms of how many we saw. And his kind of quote was quality over quantity. And I'm like, well, hang on a minute. We sat here and beat up last year's overtakes that they were all DRS breeze
Right.
bys. So none of these were breeze bys. Yes, they were whatever you want to call battery boost buys, but then they weren't. It was much harder to persist them. DRS, you'd open the flap, you'd go past, you'd wave, and you were done.
Right.
Unless it was one of those weird ones where there's maybe another DRS, and maybe you could come back.
Like
Once
Abu
you've got
Dhabi,
your
where there's
DRS,
another straight right after, and then you get them back.
yeah. Whereas here it didn't. I enjoyed the uncertainty of now drivers are going to have to work out how and when to use this to, okay, you use it too frivolously. Hey, I'm passed, but then they're going to be back past you the next corner. I don't mind that. What I'm struggling with is I don't understand it yet. I feel like a newcomer to the sport where I've never watched this before. Like part of my enjoyment of watching a race is because I'm old. I can lead into my experience and I can kind of go, okay, I can try work out the strategies of what everyone's doing, who looks quick, what's going on, where they're going to try and pass someone. I watched that last night and I was like, I got to learn this quick because I can't foresee anything coming because I don't understand how it all works yet.
Yeah.
I don't know when you can boost and when you can't, or it's just difficult to predict. But I'm sure we'll learn. We'll learn together on this pod, and with all you listening, we'll get there.
We will definitely learn. We'll definitely figure it out. My last note on why I struggle at the macro overall level is F1. The way I've always looked at it, I recognize it's about innovation and the newest technology. And here's my get off my lawn moment. I didn't like at first when they moved to the turbo hybrid era. I like the bigger engine. I like, we've talked about this, build sustainable fuels and keep running a V8, a V10, a V12. But going to a smaller engine with a battery is probably closer to what road cars will do. So, there's this balance that I struggle with. But F1, Saturday Night Live once had a skit called the All Steroid Olympics. And the point was you saw people doing stuff you could never see regular people do because they allowed steroids in. F1 is like the All Steroid Olympics. It should be the fastest friggin' cars in the world. The best cars you've ever seen. IndyCar is making fun of F1 on Twitter right now.
Yeah.
Because it's not the fastest it could be. It's not the best it could be. It's not the biggest engine it could be. And the balance of trying to bring that innovation that may be germane to your road car one day is where I struggle right now. And that's the macro part for me that's holding me back. It ain't clearly the greatest car you can build. It's something that balances economical approaches to fuel, sustainable fuel, and I'm like, but that's not what I want in F1. And so it's a get off the lawn for me, and that's the macro for me that I struggle with.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you could tell by some of the reactions at the interviews. Like Charles said, it just feels weird. It feels like you've had a Mario Kart mushroom when you press the button. It just you can feel it. It's insane. And then Lando, had that whole quote about I don't know what the engine is going to do all the time, and that's got to be really difficult because it's essentially he said. Every time you come up to a braking zone, you're not really eyeballing the braking zone. What you're doing is you're checking your steering wheel because you're trying to do the mental gymnastics of where's my battery at right now? So when I lift off, how much brake am I going to get, and how much is the computer going to decide that this needs to go into energy harvest mode instead because of where my battery is. So depending on where your battery is when you arrive at a corner, your braking point can be in a completely different spot. So you can't build laps. You can't go lap after lap after lap. Now, if you got into clear air, maybe you can, because maybe then it becomes more predictable. But when you're not, he was just sort of saying it's just every lap is a voyage into the unknown, which on one hand might give us great racing, but obviously it's just going to frustrate the hell out of them. But my favourite quote was introduced Lance Stroll, and said, "Oh, it's great. At least you got to go racing." And he went, "Racing? I would say that we were circulating."
He circulated I'm assuming a German kid in the 80s. I fell asleep to the German national anthem. It put me to sleep. Once they played the Mercedes, the constructor anthem, I was out. We have a lot left to do. This is going to be the world's longest pod. Apologies to anyone on a time constraint.
Why are you apologizing?
Well, because this is going to be a 7-hour pod when we finish this thing. Let's get into the king of the pits and the pits, because I'm kind of curious where you're going to go with this. We'll start with
You're the king of the pit.
Rob, would you like to go first, or shall I?
After you, sir.
I'm going to go a little bit off script. A little bit different in terms of where I may take this. I'm going with Arvid Lindblad.
So am I.
Really?
Yes, points on a debut for a rookie. Absolutely amazing job that kid did.
Absolutely amazing job that kid did. The whole weekend.
Yeah.
And quali, avoiding the crash with Bortoletto's broken down Audi. And the enthusiasm he had as he did it. He looked fast. He just looked fast. And it reminds me of Ollie last year, of Isaac last year, where you just see the speed that they bring. So I gave it to Arvid because it was fun to watch him.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and then you kind of look at now my screen won't refresh, so now I can't. Where did he finish compared to Liam?
Arvid was 8th, and Liam was 13th.
13th, yeah, that's what I was trying to find. I knew he wasn't in the points. So, I mean, what more can you ask a kid on his debut race as a rookie? Not only are you going to get points, but you're also going to well beat your established teammate. Okay, I know Liam was a rookie of last year, but he's had a lot of racing under his belt, and Arvid kicked his butt.
Totally did.
So,
all right,
okay,
well, let's talk about then the pits.
You're the pits.
All right, you can go first on this one because I'm not ready for this one either.
This is my Rob's rant.
Oh boy.
This is the moment I heard that radio message of, can you go for a one stop? I was like, oh, Pirelli, you did all that testing in the winter where you were talking about getting a mule car of the new reg so you could try to work out like how the battery and all this stuff was going to work so you could come up with a new set of compounds. They took the softest set I think they could take. Did they? Or did they take that? Which it was the softest, wasn't it? I think it was the C123.
Oh,
no,
that would be
456.
Well, yeah, there's no 6 anymore. It's 3, 4, 5.
No, whatever. Oh yeah, of course. We consigned. They punted the 6 into the sun and said never come back again. Right.
Super soft.
Let's have a look. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I will have to just pull my rant back just a tad. Let's have a look. I have our race poster here, carefully crafted. No, they took the C345 to Australia. So they took the softest set they could possibly take, which in theory means the hardest to pull off a one-stopper because you're on the softest set. You're not on the hardest set that can run forever. You're on the softest of the range. And the one-stop was easy for George. Absolutely easy. His pace never dropped.
And boxed early. He boxed early, too.
Boxed
so
on,
a long stint. 12 or 16.
12, so he did 48. Yeah. I think they said 46 laps. 46 laps on the hard. If that is, and I hadn't even thought about this, when I was getting ready for my rant, I hadn't even thought about the point that you nicely brought up about, will tyre deg be even lower this year anyway, because we're not maybe hitting the brakes as hard as we used to because of the harvesting. I'm really worried we're going to see the one-stopper be prevalent at a lot of tracks, which you know how much I love a one-stopper. So maybe it's too early to be giving out this award to them already, but it's a warning shot across Pirelli's bow. If you don't want to be the pits at the end of the season like you were last year, get your act together, make some new compounds. I know you probably can't, and we're locked in, but there you go, you're my pits.
Make some new compounds in the middle of the year. I'm struggling here. I think I have to give it to, it's hard to give it to a driver on the first the first race, no one punted anyone off the track on purpose. Liam didn't get his elbows out and run people off a lot. Lance didn't pull a Lance and, drive by Braille and just try to touch everyone's car with his car. So, I don't know. I mean, I could get in the party and crap on Aston Martin a little and give this to just Adrian Newey for having 2 horrible cars that they had to stop and bring back out a couple times. But, yeah, I mean, I know you record these, so I'm going to give it to Adrian Newey.
Okay, so Adrian Newey, even though it's probably more likely Honda's fault. Okay.
Yeah, sure. All right, and now
it's a very harsh one, that is. But go on, let's go for
the highlight of the episode for me, because I haven't heard from Paul in a while, so I'm just jazzed to hear from Paul. Let's hear his music first. Pit Lane Paul. Neither Rob nor I have heard this, so here we go.
Hey now. Well, first hey now of the year, and we're underway. Formula One is back, and yeah, I mean, it's all a bit new, wasn't it? It was all a bit funky. The first few laps of the race were pretty spectacular. I actually really enjoyed it. And then obviously we sort of went out. It got less enjoyable from that point, I guess. But no, I actually thought the first part of it was pretty damn spectacular. Lots of overtaking, lots of good jostling, lots of good stuff going on. What have I got to say about it? Yeah, I think all positive. I mean, the end of the race was a bit dull. I think the start of it, when they were all trying to figure out what the hell was happening, was quite entertaining. So I did quite enjoy that. But, I mean, apart from that, the rest of the weekend, I mean... Yeah, I mean, obviously, massive crash in before quali for Kimi. I'm amazed. I know Mercedes very well. I'm amazed they got their car back together. I'm kind of not amazed they got their car back together because, they are good. But awesome effort by them. I mean, actually a great effort by him in the end. I am going to obviously mention Oscar Piastri. Oh, God, heartfelt for him. What was a massive weekend for him. So I was a little bit gutted for him. But, I mean, yeah, in terms of an event, it's lovely to be back. It's hectic. Obviously, a lot of challenges faced with political situations. So it was a bit of a nightmare. But the fact that they made it work and F1 went ahead and everyone was really happy is to be applauded. Next week, we're in China. Obviously, got Bahrain and Saudi Arabia coming up. They're not obviously closed on our horizon. We know that they're there. We know they're happening. So, on the whole, we're just a little bit kind of, yeah... Wait and see. Hopefully the world can sort itself out and they can buy each other kittens and all get on. But for a season opener, very encouraging. Australia is great as always, hot, sweaty. It was amazing to be back from our side. I am going to just give 2 seconds for Cadillac because they're my team. And listen, yes, okay, we didn't finish. It sucked. But in all honesty, it's not... the achievement was being there. The achievement was getting out in FP1, FP2. The achievement was qualifying. And then the achievement was starting 2 cars on the grid. And it's so unbelievable to even get anywhere near that level. So if both cars would have finished, I think it was just complete dream world. It didn't work out. The guys that work on it, I saw a whole range of emotions during that time. Happy, sad. Happy because, we got a car to the finish. It was absolutely awesome, sensational. Sad, naturally, because, we didn't want a DNF. You don't want DNFs. And to see the guys in the garage, how much they worked, and they worked their socks off. They did virtual all-nighters. It was, it was kind of bittersweet, but I think the sweet outweighs the bitter. So we're delighted. I'm exhausted. We're going to go on to China, and then hopefully it'll be a little bit less hectic, because sadly owning a half Australian is pretty hard work at times. Love you loads, guys. Speak soon.
Amazing. Paul, thank you for that.
Great to hear, Paul. Yeah,
Great
awesome.
to hear, Paul. Feels like we're back now.
Now we've got a natural flow into Cadillac Corner.
And this is Andy's second attempt.
No, do the music, and then we'll do Andy's. We've got to do the proper Cadillac Corner music first.
All right.
Here we
It's Cadillac Corner. It's Cadillac Corner. It's Cadillac
Corner!
All right. And now Andy's second submission as an attempt for the Cadillac Corner jingle replacement.
Super Cadillac, you'll find them in Cadillac Corner. Thieving bastard, take rabbits, you are bang out of order. You'll have to change the name you use for your copycat feature, or we'll sue your ass in court and we will freaking beat ya.
I would just like to point out that while that is absolutely brilliant,
That's so good.
It's not our music man Andy that did the Valtteri song. That's the other Andy from Discord. It's I'm sure Andy would like to take credit for Andy's work, both ways around actually. Yeah. But thanks, Andy. That was rather special.
Yes, loved it.
So we're not going to labour this too much. We just said we wanted to do Cadillac Corner because we wanted to almost like diarise the season for the new entrant on the grid. So just a quick thing. It was Loudon was interviewed after the race and how he felt. And he's like, yeah, I'm super happy. Like race pace, actually, we're not that far off. A whole bunch of cars in front of us. So clearly that's the next target. Get reliability a bit more nailed. And then I'm actually thinking we can actually start catching a couple of those cars in front of us. It's within touching distance, he said. Considering this car was designed entirely on computers that haven't been calibrated against a racetrack and wind tunnels that haven't been calibrated against the car yet, it's just absolutely amazing to have even got here, been competitive. He said, just it would have been great to get 2 cars home on our first ever Grand Prix because basically we're just greedy and we want more. But getting 1 car home meant more, and we've got a platform to build on. I think that's great because we're really getting into our stride now. I just think it was, okay, Valtteri's DNF aside, it's got to have been almost the perfect start to the season for them, right? They haven't looked a million miles off the pace. They were the slowest runners out there, but they finished a car. A lot of other cars didn't do that. So,
right. I mean, a year and a day since their application was approved to the race.
Amazing.
And they didn't take over a team with a chassis that you can just start tweaking and changing. They started from scratch, and they needed forks and knives, as Paul told us on an early Cadillac Corner. So I'm with Paul. I'm with you. I'm with Graham Loudon. I'm with everybody. This was a great success for Cadillac this weekend. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves. There will be weekends where they have even more struggles. Yep. It ain't all going to be a flat line, straight trajectory upwards. There'll be some dips. However, I think their goal is by the end of the season to be better than when they started, so by a significant margin. And that occasionally can be a wandering road. So I am excited. I thought this was a really good start. I would love Valtteri to have finished, been able to finish, and Checo to have his car come home in the same pieces it started with. Even through no touching with other cars, pieces just fell off. But you know what? That's how you learn. And
exactly. Great
data and great job. And 2 amazing drivers. The second most tenured pairing on the grid.
Wow. I think we'll skip over the drivers and constructor standings in the moment because it's one race. So it's basically wherever they finished, that's where they are in the standings. So do you want to quickly hit fantasy or...
Well, how about a couple of quick SAP stats that we can go right into fantasy?
I did. I scrolled up too much.
SAP Stats Australian GP 2026 edition. This will be relatively brief, but I am really excited by a couple things. First of all, Mercedes 1-2. This is the 61st Mercedes 1-2 in the history of F1, in the history of Mercedes. It's the first, obviously, in the George and Kimi era. George twice was a 1-2 with Lewis, the 24 Vegas Grand Prix, and the 22 Sao Paulo Grand Prix. And then you enter the golden era of the Mercedes 1-2s of Valtteri's and Lewis and Nico's. And you may say, Brian, why are you telling me all this? Well, because the first 5 were the only ones that didn't involve Lewis or George. And they were all Juan Manuel Fangio from the 50s. So it was just fun to see. Yes, Mercedes dominated the turbo hybrid era change. Yes, that I'm a little nervous we may see that again starting here, but I did like Ferrari being close in the race pace. Downer, we only had 6 cars on the lead lap. And quite frankly, the last 2, Lando and Max, weren't real close. They were over 50 seconds behind. The finishers, we had a lot of cars even 2 and 3 laps down who were trying and hadn't taken breaks, unlike Lance and Fernando. So I'm a little nervous about some of the spread between those 2 cars, 2 teams at the top and the rest. Williams, as we highlighted, is the only team with 2 finishers but was fully out of the points. Alex 12th and Carlos 15th. they may be a little further behind than they gave themselves credit for.
Yeah.
However, a positive, if you look at the finishing, there were 8 teams in the points.
Yeah,
8
nice
teams.
spread,
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Alpine, Audi, Racing Bulls, Haas, Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes all scored a point. That's great on the first weekend to have that diversity and that spread and parity with a T. So I enjoyed that. Let's talk about fantasy real fast. In our Dirty Side League, we had one template. George, Gabby, Charles, Ollie, Arvid, Ferrari Racing Bulls, 2x on George, scored 259, and we had a few people doing that. GBH Racing Team Peter, Sengaucho La 33 F1 Team Asir, F1FantasyTools.com, Luke FF1 from Luke, Ortho F1 from Victor, Rookie Cheap from Agent, and then at Yank the Mic from Michael. Rounding out the top 10 with a different approach than the template I described, Adam from FanAmp Fantasy HQ, friend of the show, Mike, MCL Papaya RT, and Carolina with F1 Caro. Great job by all of you. I finished 15th, not too far behind, with a 243, followed by Robert J. Vale Incorporated at 42nd. 4-2.
Yeah,
42nd.
I had triple DNF.
Yikes. Welcome back to fantasy.
Actually, Hulk was at DNS. Isaac blew up. And friend of the show, Valtteri, didn't finish either. So, yeah, that hurt my score big style.
Hurt your score
but,
big
you know,
style.
it is what it is.
And we're back racing again next weekend
Exactly.
where we can fix the fantasy and watch cars go around and figure out what the regulations mean. China, baby. I love the Chinese Grand Prix.
Yeah, you do, don't you?
I
You
do.
really do love the Chinese Grand Prix.
A
so,
lot.
yeah, this is one that you just... I don't even know why. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just
Yeah.
that you've got this over-the-top love for China.
If you
It's good.
took the average amount of enthusiasm of an F1 fan, there are 2 tracks I like more than most people, for reasons that escape me as well. Shanghai and Bahrain. I
know. Yeah,
I
you're
love
all in
those
on it.
2.
Yeah, I know. And why he loves it is because it's 16 corners of a 3.388 mile circuit, the Shanghai International Circuit. First held in 2004 and was won by Rubens Barrichello. The lap record of 1:32.238 was set by Schumacher in that year as well, 2004. Had a little break around COVID time. Last year, it gave me the false hope because we had the sprint, which was won by Lewis. So
Yeah.
Ferrari are back, baby, and Lewis is going to go on and win it. Obviously, was the only highlight of his year.
It was too.
It was the only highlight of his year. The race then quickly snatched away everything that the sprint had given in terms of Ferrari because we had Oscar converted pole to a win. Lando came in second, George third. Where are the Ferraris? Oh, yeah, a double DQ because Charles was done for being underweight, as was Gasly, and Lewis had excessive plank wear. So we went from, if you're a Ferrari fan, the high of Lewis winning the sprint to being kicked out of the race. So, although it got a bit lower for Liam a couple of days after the Chinese race because that was the one where he got binned off and Yuki got brought in. So. In terms of the repeat winners round China, we got Mr. Hamilton has 6, and then Alonso and Rosberg have 2. Mercedes have 6, Ferrari and McLaren have 4, and Red Bull have 3. And the way this has gone, you're going to be putting your money, I think, on Mercedes making a 7th win there. But I would just say, because we didn't actually pick up on this at all during our epically long review of the race, which one wins it? Because Kimi kept...
Yes.
George way more honest than I thought he was going to.
Way more honest.
Maybe even being a little bit nice guy and playing the team card to bring it home as a 1-2 because he went from like 6 or 7 seconds behind George down to about, I didn't note it, but he finished a couple of seconds behind George, I think.
2.9.
As if he 2.9, and he was making indents until then he wasn't, as if maybe there was like a Toto in his ear saying, right, nothing stupid now, open the season with a 1-2, there will be plenty of time to go racing, Kimi. I think Kimi... The way that he nailed that quali after having no time in the car, they rebuilt it. He went straight out there and put it on provisional pole. I think we might need to be watch this Kimi lad. I don't think this is going to be a walk in the park for George this year.
I agree. But I do think it's a Mercedes title to lose at this point, unless they get outdeveloped by somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be interested
Ferrari
to
will
see
keep.
if
Yeah,
the
we want
Ferrari...
to see. Yeah, exactly.
if I want to see a full race without being interrupted by a strategy being interrupted by a VSC or a safety car. See where Ferrari really are. If Ferrari can take the battle to them, let's just say we got a Ferrari win in China, then all bets are off. All this whole Mercedes is going to run away with it
or Red Bull. We don't know how fast Red Bull is.
Yep.
I will say this: the reason I love China is the main straight. You get that long round corner where I think under these regulations we may see some epic corner battles, like throughout the corners, turn 1, 2. Really kind of like it's almost like a carousel, just not as banked, but it's so long and sweeping. Love it. And then you have the same thing towards the back, turns 12 and 13, which launch you onto a massive straight, which unfortunately we'll probably see most people run out of battery about 3/4 of the way down. And then you have like a very quick straight between 15 and 16 back up to the main straight, where I think we could see some people really position some great battles. That's why I love China. It had been because of the DRS bringing you into these battles in the corners. Now I'm hoping the battery deployment is one where we see people ending up fighting through corners, and these long sweepers I think are really going to set us up for some epic wheel-to-wheel through the corner battles is my hope. Come on, China. We have to do the casino game.
Oh, yeah, the casino game.
Let me spin the wheel. Should we do the roulette first?
Well, first off, we didn't even give an update on
Yes.
the Australian one that we just had. So we spun the wheel and we had position number 2 hop out. You picked Russell, I picked Verstappen. Neither of us got it right. No points on the roulette wheel.
Oh, I was close though, darn it.
You can be as close as you like. For blackjack, I went Behrman and Gasly. You went Hadjar and Ocon. I scored 7 points for Behrman and Gasly, both finishing in the points.
And I had 0.
You scored a big fat 0 because Hadjar blew up and Ocon didn't make it. So I take the first blackjack hand of the season. So yeah, let's spin that wheel and see where we're going to be predicting for.
And this is the 1 to 22 wheel this time.
Oh, well done. Because I forgot.
Oh, doesn't matter. 8.
8. Okay. I don't even remember who went first last time.
Whatever you like.
You go on. You go first on this one, and I'll do the black. No, it doesn't matter. Go on.
Go for it. Whatever you want, man.
No, it's after you. I'm saying.
Okay. 8th, but we lost Isaac and Oscar, who you would think would be in that area. So I think I have to pick from amongst them. Arvid was great. Ollie was great. They were 7th and 8th in Australia. I'm going to go with my belief that the McLaren isn't quite caught up yet with that new engine, and I'm going to put Oscar 8th.
Ooh, okay.
That means I probably have Isaac ahead of him, which could be blasphemy, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to just gamble on there still being some gremlins to shake out, and we'll get some different DNFs this time, which means people will filter up. And I'm going to give Ollie another shot of points. I'm going to take Mr. Behrman in 8. Okay, now Black. This is just. So I'm going to steer clear. I'm going to steer clear of Mercedes. I think I'm going to have to steer clear. Oh, if I steer clear of Mercedes, that's 1 and 2 gone. Okay, what if Charles wins it though?
He could.
Okay. Oh, Mac. Oh, crap. I don't want to go bust. Okay, believe that Mercedes will win. So I am going to throw a Max and. Oh, well, I think he's going to finish 8th, so I'm going to throw Max and Oscar. Oh God, that could be so bust. I'm throwing a Max and Oscar on the table.
That is, you really may have. If they're 4th and 5th, that's 22. That would be obviously too many. But okay, Max and Oscar. I'm going to take a slightly different strategy this week. I'm going to try to get 2nd place, and then what I'm going to do is go with someone I don't think will finish in the points. So I'm going for 18. I'm going for a single card, the infamous 18 card, which you always get dealt in Vegas. I'm going with Kimi. And then for my 2nd card, I'm going with
Lance.
Valtteri, our friend Valtteri. I don't think will be in the points. Sorry, Valtteri. I know you can do that. You're the most talented driver on the grid, but the car ain't quite ready.
That's a good play. That is a good play. I shouldn't have been so greedy with my points, but
I'm going to back off on one and go big style on the other and see if this strategy works. And if I may, the Discord, we're playing these casino games as well. You can play along. Lee, thank you for setting up the channel. I'm excited to Perry. Thanks for being out there, and everyone else. Andy playing, all the rest of you. I propose that just for the channel, what we do is Rob and I, our picks are the ones that get blocked, and y'all can double up if you want. Because if more people play, there won't be enough drivers. So, for example, for 8th, you all could pick the same if you like. It's just a matter of, not worrying about who got there first. That way, timing doesn't matter. Is my proposal. So doubles on the Discord work, but come play along. Because we'll see how we do, especially on the blackjack. Way hard to do.
It is. I really think I might have lost it this week.
You may go too
should've
high.
No, you going for the high point, no point.
We'll find
card.
out.
Yeah, we'll find out.
New
We'll find out next
strategies,
week.
new year, new
Yeah.
me.
Okay, well, yeah, a long one, but there was a lot to pick. Race reviews and race previews. I'm just going to spend the week trying to sort of revise these rules so I can kind of feel like I know what's going on a little bit more. I was comfortable with DRS. I didn't like it, but I knew where the detection zone was. I could look at the timing boards and go, oh, they're nearly down to within a second. And I got to get to that level of comfort with these regs because I don't feel there yet. So bring on China.
Bring on China. We can't wait to watch the Chinese Grand Prix in 1 week's time and recap it with all of you here on the Dirty Side. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great week.